Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Greg Sloop, and it's time for Live at 5 on this Friday, January 10th, 2025. Hope you're having a fantastic day. We are today looking at another of our segments in the journey through the New Testament. We are up to day 8, which is actually the 10th of the month, but eighth day because we start only on weekdays this year. We're looking at the one chapter a day, all the weekdays, Monday through Friday. So today we're up to Matthew chapter 8. A lot of material to cover in here. We're going to jump right in. Hope you are with us in the mornings when we load up about 6 a.m. or whatever time of the morning you look at it on gregsloop.com, the blog page, my personal blog page, gregsloop.com. And you'll see the outline with the points each morning, and then we'll talk about and elaborate on it in the afternoon. That's what we're up to today. Matthew chapter 8, beginning in verse 1. When he had come down from the mountain, great multitudes followed him. And behold, a leper came and worshiped him, saying, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. Then Jesus put out his hand and touched him, saying, I am willing, be clean. Immediately his leprosy was cleansed. And Jesus said to him, see that you tell no one, but go your way, show yourself to the priest, and offer the gift that Moses commanded as a testimony to them. What are our points to ponder here? Well, after the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus had just finished it at the end of chapter 7. Jesus did not take a rest. He didn't shun the crowds. He didn't push everybody away. Instead, he was approached by someone the religious establishment would have shunned, a leprous person, a leper. He was unclean, unacceptable in the temple or the synagogues or within 10 feet of any clean individual. Lepers were to be ostracized. They were to be put into colonies at times. They were to be separated from the general population. But he came and expressed faith in Christ to help him, heal him, and make him clean. No one else could make him clean. He could go to the priest to be examined, but unless the priest saw the sign of the cleanness, he could not be declared clean. Nobody could do it but Jesus. And then Jesus did the unthinkable. He reached out and touched the unclean leper. That was unallowed. And this would make Jesus ceremonially unclean, unless, of course, the leper was no longer leprous but clean. And according to this passage, the leper was made immediately clean. Jesus did what no one else could do. He healed and made clean this leper in a moment and sent him to the priest to get the official diagnosis, the official declaration of his cleanness. Jesus, as again, I'll say, did what nobody else could do. Nobody else could help this leper the way Jesus did. Jesus did it. He snubbed his nose at the tradition. He did not allow himself to be restricted from reaching out to someone in need just because the codes that people had written up said you would not touch a leper. He changed the system. He made it to where everyone could be able to get access to the healing that they needed. Then the next story talks about the centurion's servant. Verse 5, now when Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him, pleading with him, saying, Lord, my servant is lying at home paralyzed, dreadfully tormented. And Jesus said to him, I will come and heal him. And the centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy that you should come under my roof, but only speak a word, and my servant will be healed. For I also am a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this one, go, and he goes, and to another, come, and he comes, and to my servant, do this, and he does it. When Jesus heard it, he marveled and said to those who followed, assuredly, I say to you, I have not found such great faith, not even in Israel. And I say to you that many will come from the east and west and sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the sons of the kingdom will be cast out into outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then Jesus said to the centurion, go your way, and as you have believed, so let it be done to you. And his servant was healed that same hour. What do we need to ponder here? Well, Jesus came home to his northern headquarters, Capernaum, after the Sermon on the Mount. And as soon as he came into the village, he was immediately approached by a Roman soldier, a centurion, who had asked him to heal his servant who was at home seriously ill. Jesus agreed to come and heal him, but the centurion claimed that he was unworthy for Jesus to enter his home. And in Jewish faith and way of looking at things, he was unworthy. He was a Gentile, he was not a Jew. But he said, just speak the word. Just speak the word. I tell you, we need to remember that phrase when we need something from God. God, just speak the word. He had such great faith that Jesus declared that he would be remembered for it. He used it as an opportunity to decry the woeful condition of the religion of Judaism and the futile efforts of piety that actually came across as hypocritical. They were trying to be pious, they were trying to be holy, righteous, but instead it just came across as a farce, as hypocrisy. Then he simply told the centurion, go your way, and the servant was healed. So let's have faith and simply ask Jesus to say the word and then go our way. We sometimes linger and we agonize and we feel tortured and we ask God 1,000 times. Listen, don't get me wrong, ask and keep on asking, seek and keep on seeking, knock and keep on knocking. But I think that immediate action and continuing uh, of action aspect of the Greek there is not necessarily telling us to ask for the same thing over and over again. As a matter of fact, Jesus just taught in the previous chapter, I believe it was, that you should not pray with vain repetitions. Don't repeat everything to God over and over again. Instead, ask Jesus to say the word, go your way, and believe. The next thing that happened is the healing of Peter's mother in law. Verse 14, now when Jesus had come into Peter's house, he saw his wife's mother lying sick with a fever. So he touched her hand. Here's another person sick. She's got a fever. She's not someone that you want to touch. You might catch something. But he touched her hand anyway. He touched the leper. Now he's touching the mother-in-law of Peter's hand, and the fever left her. And she arose and served them. When evening had come, they brought to him many who were demon possessed, and he cast out the spirits with a word and healed all who were sick, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet Isaiah, saying, he himself took our infirmities and bore our sicknesses. Well, what do we need to ponder here? What is our points for ponder? There's a pattern forming here. After Jesus' initial miracles and his powerful sermon from Matthew 5 through 7, Jesus' fame has spread abroad. People are hearing about him from all over. He's known as the healer, the deliverer, the authoritative teacher, the devil destroyer. Everyone thought they needed Jesus, and you know what? They did. Now, after healing the leper and the sick servant, Jesus gets to go to his borrowed room in Peter's house. However, Peter's mother-in-law is sick, but he did not wait for a request or even ask permission in this case. Jesus simply touched her hand, and her fever left, and she was well. She even got up and began to do what she always did, and that is to serve others. Later in the evening, Jesus' location was made known. People began to bring their sick, their demon possessed to him at Peter's house. He cast out demons. He healed the sick. No one was beyond his ability and power to deliver. And again, Jesus even fulfilled prophecy by doing so. God, help us to always be available to heal the sick and cast out demons or any other type of ministry that is needed. And if that scares you a little bit and you think to yourself, Pastor Greg's a little bit out there, he thinks we need to be casting out demons. I don't think we need to look for a demon behind every rock and under every staircase, but at the same time, when you come up against something that appears to be demonic authority, use divine authority, use holy authority against it, and speak truth and do not be afraid. That's my word on that today. Then we move to a section that talks about the demands of discipleship, starting in verse 18. And when Jesus saw great multitudes about him, he gave a command to depart to the other side. Then a certain scribe came and said to him, Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go. And Jesus said to him, Foxes have holes, and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. Then another of his disciples said to him, Lord, let me first go and bury my father. But Jesus said to him, Follow me, and let the dead bury their own dead. This is some strange reaction here from Jesus, it seems, but let's dig into it just a little bit and ponder these points. After Jesus had healed and delivered those who were in need, he did take a break. He wanted to hop in a boat and go to the other side of the lake or sea. But before they could take off, a man requested to travel with Jesus. He discouraged him, though, revealing that he had no actual home. I mean, he's living in Peter's house, but it's not his own home. I don't have a place to even lay my head. You don't want to come with me. Another man requested that Jesus wait on him to bury his father. Jesus told him that the dead spiritually could bury the dead physically, but that he should not be concerned with that task. And although it may sound to us today, especially in a very sensitive world in which we live, a bit heartless, Jesus was teaching an important lesson. True followers will find no excuse not to follow Jesus. Let me say that again. I think that's an important point. True followers will find no excuse to not follow Jesus. Lord, help us to put you first every day in every way. Then we go to the section that talks about the sea is stilled. The sea is stilled. I love this. It's a great story. Starting in verse 23. Now, when he got into a boat, his disciples followed him. He finally got to get in the boat, go to the other side. Suddenly, a great tempest arose on the sea, so that the boat was covered with the waves. But he was asleep. He was asleep. Then his disciples came to him and awoke him, saying, Lord, save us, we're perishing. But he said to them, Why are you fearful, O you of little faith? Then he arose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. So the men marveled, saying, Who can this be, that even the winds and the sea obey him? Finally, Jesus got into the boat. He's going to get some rest. He's going to be able to take a nap. He got into the boat with his disciples and began the journey to the other side of the lake, the sea. And a sudden storm, which is common on the Sea of Galilee. I've been told by everyone in Israel, a storm can arise on the Sea of Galilee in no time. A storm arose and threatened to sink the boat. But Jesus was asleep. I think that point right there is enough to help us understand that there is nothing that scares Jesus. There's nothing too big for Jesus. There's nothing too ominous for Jesus. There's nothing that makes Jesus feel alarmed or uneasy. And when the disciples, though, could take it no longer, because they weren't quite there at that point yet, they woke Jesus and began to question his love and concern for them. He turned it on them and asked why they were scared. He basically asked, Where is your faith? Jesus then did what they thought was necessary, and he calmed the storm, and his disciples marveled, which became a fairly common response to the miracles of Jesus. They did not understand, but they were thankful and at the same time amazed by what they saw. And we go to one more section here. This is the last section in this chapter, starting in verse 28, where the demons were cast into the swine. Verse 28, when he had come to the other side, to the country of the Gergesenes, there met him two demon-possessed men, coming out of the tombs, exceedingly fierce, so that no one could pass that way. And suddenly they cried out, saying, What have we to do with you, Jesus, you Son of God? Have you come here to torment us before the time? Now, a good way off from them there was a herd of many swine feeding. So the demons begged him, saying, If you cast us out, permit us to go away into the herd of swine, because they didn't want to be sent into the abyss. They didn't want to be sent into the unknown or the place of no return. And he said to them, Go. So when they had come out, they went into the herd of swine, and suddenly the whole herd of swine ran violently down the steep place into the sea and perished in the water. Then those who kept them fled, and they went away into the city and told everything, including what had happened to the demon-possessed men. And behold, the whole city came out to meet Jesus. And when they saw him, they begged him to depart from their region. What an unusual response. How can we interpret this? What do we need to ponder here? Once they got to the other side of the huge lake, they were met by two demon-possessed men, and it never seemed to end for Jesus. No matter where he went, no matter what was going on in his life, there was always somebody else to heal, deliver, set free, raise from the dead. There was always something. He tried to take a nap on the ship, and instead they woke him up because they couldn't deal with the storm. He gets to the other side where maybe he could go get a room and rest for the night. And what happens? Two demon-possessed men come out and meet him and almost accost him. They were aggressive and fierce and scared everyone in the area. Now, you might say to yourself, I thought this was the story of one demon possessed man who was chained but broke the chains. That's another story, I think. Now, there are some that believe it's the same story. They even come up with a theory that Matthew had a doubling habit. He doubled everything. But the truth of the matter is, this is the Gergesenes, which is not far from Gadara. But the demoniac of Gadara, I think, is a separate story from the two demoniacs or demon-possessed men in the Gergesenes. I don't want to argue that today, but at the same time, I think they are two different stories. These demon-possessed men accosted Jesus, asking what he wanted with them. And they obviously knew his authority, and they feared his actions. Swineherds were watching their herd of pigs nearby, shepherds, swineherds. So the demons begged to be displaced into the swine, and Jesus allowed the request. He didn't send them into the abyss or back to hell. He let them go into the pigs. But unlike some humans, the pigs were so powerfully affected negatively by being demon possessed that they ran into the sea trying to get away from this dark, evil presence. They said, we'd rather do something that we know is not good for us rather than be demon possessed. I think Christians ought to take an example from the pigs. Instead of sitting around and allowing demons to dance around you and possibly infect your whole being, why not just say no? Claim the name of Jesus, send them down the road. Unfortunately, all the pigs died, all the swine died. And even though Jesus was doing something good for these two men who were demon possessed, because they were free from this demon possession, I mean, as far as we know, for the rest of their lives. The awe, though, and the fearfulness of it all made the residents of the Gergesenes very afraid. And they asked Jesus to leave and did not receive the message fully, except perhaps the two men who were delivered. Jesus established that he had authority over sickness and disease, over nature, and over demon spirits in this chapter. He made it apparent that he could do miracles and change the course of other people's lives. He showed that he was God. So let's give him that honor in our lives today. Let's honor Jesus as the Son of God instead of just treating him like a spiritual ATM. When we're in trouble, we'll go to him and ask for help, and he's going to give it to us. He does long to give us what we need. He does long to heal our bodies and to deliver us from demonic oppression or possession. He wants to give us back things that the devil's taken from us. But understand something. There's going to be a price to pay. We talked about the price of discipleship just a little bit earlier. You can't you can't expect to live the life of luxury. You can't expect to always have a house that you can call your own. Even you can't expect to get exempted from serving the king because you've got a family situation going on. Sometimes you have to do things that cost something, but it's always and forever worth it. And that's the word for today. Live the life of Christ, follow his example, and see what God will do. Good to see several of you on here with us today. I see Richard Britt. Good to see you, my brother. Gene Goodman, Kathleen Palace, Sharon Noblet, Jack Weinkoff, all great people from the church. Phil Goodman, my cousin. Gene's his wife. Naveed Dildar And I'm sure there are others on here that I can't see. You haven't written anything yet, and that's fine. Anytime during these broadcasts that you want to write a comment, ask a question, feel free to do so. It is a welcome thing, and you are welcome on these broadcasts every day, Monday through Friday, for this journey through the New Testament, and every Sunday evening for a special interpretation and prayer through Psalm 119 that we'll be doing for several weeks, almost half a year. And I hope you'll be involved for each and every one of them. It's our blessing to bring it to you each day, and I hope it's a blessing to you as well. Spend that time with God every day in the Word of God and prayer. You got a built-in opportunity here. Read my blog in the mornings, come back for live at 5 in the evenings, and you'll have a built-in devotional time. But if not, do something on your own, because it's the best thing you'll ever do, and it will be the best thing you'll do all day long. Please know we're praying for you, and I look forward to seeing you again on Sunday for live at 5 and for 10:30 a.m. live stream right here of our services from Kannapolis Church of God. There is some weather in the area. Not sure how it's going to all turn out. Right now, it looks just like a dusting of snow, but we'll keep you posted. And if we're not going to have church, we'll let you know. But if we are, we'll be at 2211 West A Street for the live in-person service, and right back here for live stream of our service on Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m.